Welcome to Blue Talks.
Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be here at Oxford University. I am so excited because I get to wake up every single morning doing exactly what I love to do, which is helping entrepreneurs just like you get from wherever you are to where you want to be, and more importantly, where you were created to be. Each one of you has the internal tools within your toolbox to solve external problems in only a way that you can. That way, it doesn't matter if you are in the healthcare profession, if you're in the education profession, if you're a business strategist, or what it is that you do in your zone of genius. Competition doesn't matter because your internal toolbox is what makes you uniquely qualified. Everything within you, your experiences, the good, the bad, the everything in between, and all of the resources that you put into your internal toolbox are exactly what you need in order to take that next step for greater global impact. I love helping people reach their highest potential and understand who they are and how they can have that greater impact on the world, doing exactly what it is that they are passionate about doing, what it is that they love to do, and what it is that they were created to do. In order to tell you a little bit about how to do this, I'm going to back up and tell you a little bit of a story about myself and where I got to where I am today. Because I have a lot of people say, well, Laura, you're an international strategist. What exactly does that mean? And how does media, branding, and marketing fit into all of that? So if you go back with me on a little bit of a journey, I'm going to tell you where I was as a 6-year-old, which was growing up very, very poor in the back of a 1984 conversion van with my entire family homeless. I did not understand that I was homeless. I didn't understand that we lived differently than anyone else other than we just didn't have a house. That's the only difference that I really understood. That and we didn't maybe have a dining room table to eat dinners around and things like that. But I knew that I had a greater sense of purpose within me in order to help my family at that time. So I was very creative as a 6-year-old, and I decided to help my family by making barrettes at Christmas bazaars. So I learned a lot about product placement and pricing at 6 years old, taking Christmas barrettes and selling them at bazaars that turned into a business that I actually did year-round at various other community events. This not only helped my family financially, but was the start of a very important journey that I went down in learning about business, in learning about communication, in learning about leadership, and learning about all of the things that I am today. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, how much did you really learn at 6 years old? And I'm here to tell you a lot, because when you are in survival mode, and when that is your only option for survival, you actually have a very different mindset. And so even at 6 years old, I actually dug super, super deep into this journey in ways that I didn't even understand. Fast forward to when we were in our first stick-built house, when I was 11 years old, I actually took out my first bank loan for $3,500, co-signed by my mom, who had an incredible belief in me. And at $3,500 at 11 years old was a lot of money. Might as well have been $1 million. But I was determined, I was passionate, I was smart, I was a hard worker, and I was going to figure this out on how to pay back the $3,500. Well, I don't know if I caught a bank full of bankers on a good day or if they just felt sorry for a young entrepreneur, but I got my loan for $3,500, bought my hot dog stand with all of the equipment and the startup costs that it took in order to operate in a very small community that was new to me at the time. I found myself in a very controversial situation that I did not understand, nor did my family, because we were not familiar with the area, we were new. I then began to understand what it was like to experience media in my favor. I did my first live radio remote when I was 11 years old because I found myself in that controversial situation of not understanding the permits, not understanding all of the different city ordinances that it took to operate on a public sidewalk and within the community. So I had the radio and I had the newspaper at that time come to my rescue and to support young entrepreneurship. I then began to receive customers far and wide. And so in conversations that I had with them, I then realized the power of media. So what started out as someone just interested in what this young entrepreneur was doing turned into me understanding the relationships and the power of the relationships and the impact that those relationships had in spreading my message, in supporting what it was that I was doing as a young entrepreneur. Then I began to do it a lot more strategically at 11 years old. I bought that business for $3,500. I sold it 3 years later for $500,000. So I then began to understand what it was like to run an actual business, 11, 12, 13 years old, using the power of relationships, using the power of media, and understanding, even at that stage, a little bit about marketing and branding as I went forward, because on the side of my hot dog stand I painted hot dog in it with a specific graphic that then became the icon when I was a very, very young girl running this hot dog stand. So everybody then became known, knew what I was doing far and wide for. I was the hot dog in it girl. So it's interesting how those things have followed me, those building blocks have followed me throughout my life. Fast forward yet again, and because I grew up the poor girl, there were all kinds of labels that were put on me. I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't this, I wasn't that, and I just wasn't going to basically amount to much. My high school guidance counselor called me into her office and said, "Lori, what are your plans after high school?" To be honest, I really didn't know. I wasn't sure what that would look like. My friends were applying to colleges and had all these plans, and she said, "Well, I think we need to talk about an alternative plan for you because you're really not college material." And I remember thinking at that time, I didn't know if I was or if I wasn't, but I wasn't going to let someone else make that decision for me. So even though I didn't think of myself as very intelligent at that time, I'd been told my whole life that I wasn't, and that I was the head cheerleader and I was this and I was that, but I was definitely not an academic. So I took a chance. Nobody in my family had ever gone to college. I took a chance because I wanted to find out for myself if it was actually something I was even interested in. So I applied to one college, got in on academic probation, and that started down my journey of international education, international speaking, 3 bachelors, 3 masters, 2 PhDs, and 25 certifications later, and a retired college business professor from Oregon State University. So my point there is to remember your worth, remember your value, remember the tools in your toolbox that make you uniquely qualified to do exactly what it is that you are doing. Whatever that is, wherever you are headed, know that you have everything within you in order to serve the world in a very powerful way that only you can. I can't even imagine what I would be doing with my life had I listened to my guidance counselor when I was 16, 17 years old. And I am so thankful that I had that faith over fear, that I had that courage to take that next step and to at least find out for myself if it was something that I wanted to pursue, if it was something that I was interested in. As you take that next step in your career and you think about that faith over fear, I want you to think about your journey as having a flashlight in your hand. A flashlight is only designed to illuminate the next step. That's what it's designed for. So when you think about the faith over fear, I want you to think about it's the fact that it is not possible for you to have all of the information in order to make the decision that needs to be made. How many times do we hear, or do you catch yourself saying, "Well, I don't know. I'm not really sure. I need more information. I don't have all of the information in order to make the best possible decision," because we have that fear of failure. We have that fear of rejection. We have that embarrassment, that judgment, all of those negative things. When really, truly, I want you to reframe your thinking to understand that it's not possible for you to have all of the information in order to make that decision that needs to be made. But here's the cool thing. Because you are designed to do exactly what it is that you are doing, it's not possible to not get to where you were designed to go. Isn't that cool? It's not even possible. So even if we make the best decision that we possibly can with the information that we have right now, and you have a challenge or you have a quote unquote failure, you will have more information than you did before you made that decision, thus making a different decision as you move along. But if you don't have a plan, if you don't have an idea of where you're going, you can't be too upset about where you end up. Meaning that you have it within you every single day to make the best possible decision to move that needle of success that's going to get you from wherever you are to where you want to be. Now, as we think about media and as we think about marketing and as we think about the foundation of our business, it's important that we understand the value within ourselves enough to understand that the world needs you to show up. They need you to show up. In this advancement of technology and the world that we're living in and all the tools that are literally at our fingertips, that we have so many resources, we have so many tools, we have so many opportunities to show up. It doesn't matter if it's a live social media feed. It doesn't matter if you have a podcast. It doesn't matter if you're speaking on a stage. It doesn't matter where your comfort zone is. The idea is that you push yourself outside of that comfort zone so that you can grow, so that the people around you can grow that you were meant to serve. But the idea is that you show up, and you show up authentically, and you show up fully. And when you understand how to use media, branding, and marketing in order to speak your voice, in order to understand your messaging, then you can serve more people. When the world is waiting for you to show up, they're waiting for you to be crystal clear on who you are, who you serve, the problem that you solve. When you understand those three things and you have your messaging down to a T, then your ideal client and customer will know to be attracted to you and that you are the one that can help them solve their problem. When your messaging is off, they might like you. They might see that you're an integral person, you have strong ethics, values, all those things, but they're not going to know that you're the one that can solve their problem. You have to have the equation of all three of those in place, like, know, and trust, in order for them to get to the point where you move them from a cold to a warm to a hot lead in the journey of getting to the point where they can work with you. So how do you do that? Each one of you has specific messaging within your heart, soul, and mind with what it is that you do. They might be spoken words that you just automatically say when you're talking about your passion to people. It may be specific language within the industry. But when you stay focused on your main 3 points, whether you are teaching a class, speaking on a podcast, whatever it is, your messaging then becomes crystal clear that you can use for clear marketing, branding, and everything within media, because a confused mind never buys. So when a confused mind never buys, it's vitally important that you stay focused on those 3 main messaging points so that they maintain the continuity across everything that you do. So that even if they don't know you, have never met you, they have some type of a connection to you, some type of an understanding, some type of an emotional connection to who you are, enough for them to take that next step in order to want to work with you. So I want you guys to understand that it is super important that you gain clarity on the 3 main messaging points that you are putting out there in the world, whether it's through social media graphics, whether it's through your website, whether it's through different types of podcasts, different interviews, whatever it is. You need to be crystal clear on those and make sure that you maintain that continuity across the board, because you should not be somebody different on Facebook than you are on LinkedIn, than you are on your website, than you are on and off stage. Whatever that looks like, you have to be crystal clear on those 3 things. So one of the things that I see along those lines is that people try to be different to different people at different times. And you can't be. There's 2 reasons for that. 1, people are watching you whether or not you realize that they're watching you or not. And 2, you're actually out of integrity with yourself. So when you think about what integrity means internally and externally, you have to take a look at that in a 360-degree angle in every direction, because a lot of people miss the fact that they're out of integrity with themselves. They think that they're trying to fake it till you make it, sweep it under the rug. Nobody's going to notice the things that maybe they're doing or not doing. First of all, I promise you more people are noticing than you realize. So you have to be definitely in integrity with everything that you are putting out there in the world. But when you're not doing that, you're completely out of integrity with yourself. So what does that mean? In a lot of cases, you're going to be exhausted. You're going to be absolutely exhausted because you're trying to be too many things to too many people. You're trying to put forth different versions of yourself constantly. And the reason for that is that a lot of people don't have enough value, the sense of value and sense of worth in themselves to just show up authentically, and that's who they are. They think that they have to be different things at different times. So I want you to understand that once you step into that greater version of yourself, the media, branding, and marketing pieces of the trifecta of that foundation become so much easier. They become so much easier. So don't be afraid to actually step outside of your comfort zone and get to that emotional connection that you need to make with your ideal client and customer. Now, when I talk about emotional connection, I want you to remember that that also has to do with the psychology of the branding, the media, and the marketing that takes place across the messaging. I have people ask me all the time, Lori, do I have to wear a certain color? I noticed that you're all about the fuchsias and the magentas and the pink tones. The answer to that is no, but you do have to be consistent with whatever it is that you choose to represent you in your graphics, whether that's an icon, whether that's certain typography, whether that's something that you're wearing. It doesn't matter what it is. You don't have to have certain colors, but you do have to understand the emotional connection behind everything that you're putting out there. So what that could be certain typography, that could be certain colors, that could be a certain icon, it could be 1,000 different things, but you have to be consistent with that, and you have to understand what you're communicating to your ideal client and customer if they've never met you. So let me give you an example. So everything that I do is within a certain color palette. That is because I work pretty equally with both men and women. That's why it has both 2 different color tones. That's why the deeper dive that I do in the branding and that every business owner should be doing should also have secondary colors, should have metal colors, should have typography. The deeper dive that you go into your branding, the more you're going to understand actually who you are and why you do what you do. This is why you never want to design a logo first. A lot of people will jump to Canva or different types of aids to help them design different graphics, different logos. And this is why you don't want to do that. Because when you understand the emotional connection behind the colors that you're using, behind the typography that you're using, behind the designs that you're using, then you better understand how to reach your ideal client and customer. When you don't understand the foundation of what I call the branding essence, then you're not actually going to have the visual identity of the logo that's going to match that. This is why a lot of people will say, I can't get clients and customers, I'm not financially maybe where I want to be, or they're exhausted working with the wrong clients because they're just trying to get their business off the ground, and so they're taking in anybody that's paying them, so to speak. And it's usually because you have a messaging problem or you have a branding and marketing problem. So when you understand how those pieces fit together, your life is so much simpler in understanding how those pieces fit together and what it is that you're supposed to do. So when you understand your messaging and you take your messaging and you actually build the branding essence of who you are internally and externally, and you begin to put those visual pieces in place, all of the pieces then begin to flow together, and you actually are attracting the people that you want to attract, and not just random people, and then you're trying to sift through whether or not they're going to make a good client or customer for you. This is all about understanding not only who you are and the deeper aspects of the messaging, but it's all about understanding how the psychology works at all levels in order to understand what is in the mind of your ideal client and customer. Before they even have a chance to ask you questions, you're already answering the questions for them on a subconscious level. This takes branding to a lot deeper level than what a lot of people understand branding to be. So I want you guys to understand what actually needs to be in place in order to catapult you to that next level that you're after. Think about it like the tortoise and the hare. We all know how that story ends. Well, in a lot of cases, you actually have to go slower and strategically and methodically and shut out the noise around you, shut out the distractions around you, all of the negative influences, whatever that is, and stay focused on where it is that you're going so that you know where you're ending up. And in the end, you will actually catapult past everyone else that is not doing the foundational work, right? They're not understanding what it is that they need to do strategically in order to get to where they want to go. Think about if I would have listened to certain people in my life and in my journey along the way, and I allowed them to influence me in all kinds of negative ways and continue to put those labels on me, I would not be an international educator and coach traveling the globe helping people the way that I am today. I maybe would have graduated high school, maybe would have graduated college, but definitely would have been playing small and didn't even know it, because I would have thought that maybe that's what I was supposed to do. So when you understand the greatness that you have within you, you are going to catapult way, way farther when you understand how to put those pieces together and stand in your value than the people that are just trying to fake it till they make it, get ahead, backfill later, all those different things that are going on in our industry that I'm sure all of us in this room are familiar with. So don't think of it as everyone passing you up. Think of it as you're building that solid foundation that's going to sustain the test of time, that's going to sustain the challenges, because business is a lot of work. Entrepreneurship is a lot of work. There's challenges that you face that you don't even see coming sometimes. But when you add the internal tools to your toolbox, you're better able to deal with the next challenge and the next challenge. Even if it's a different situation, even if it's a different scenario, you've gained the tools in your internal toolbox that's going to help you make that next decision quicker. That's going to help you shift into a different state of being or pull out a different version of yourself that you need in order to solve that greater and greater problem. Because here's the other cool thing. When you adapt lifelong learning, when you adapt the understanding that you add to those internal tools in your toolbox, then you have stronger tools to solve bigger problems. Remember what I said in the beginning, that you have internal tools in your toolbox that make you uniquely qualified to do exactly what it is that you were meant to do to solve the external problems that only you can. There are people in your world around you every single day, in line at the grocery store, at an event, at maybe your son's school. It doesn't matter where it is. You have the capacity to build amazing power into the hearts, souls, and minds of every single person that you come in contact with every single day. Never underestimate the power of those seeds that you can plant in the hearts, souls, and minds that cause that ripple effect of amazing global impact. There was several years ago, I was at a book fair actually with my son, and there was this young woman, mid-20s, that kept watching me, and I was watching her out of my peripheral, and she came up to me and she said, "Are you Lori? Is your name Lori?" And I looked at her and I didn't recognize her, and I said, "Yes." And she goes, "I just want you to know that because you mentored me through a divorce, that I was going through a really hard time, I changed the trajectory of my life because of the coaching and the training and the mentoring that you gave me at such a pivotal time in my life, that I am a better wife and mother because of you." And I will never forget that moment that I had with that young lady at a book fair. And her husband was there, and she was so excited to introduce me to her kids and to her husband. And her husband came up to me and said, "I've heard so much about you over the last several years. I just want to say thank you." And I just thought, oh, wow, this is incredible. Because here I am helping this young gal at the time, just trying to help her through a hard time, not really understanding the impact that was going to have on the trajectory of her life over the next 15 years. A lot of time had passed, actually. So I did not recognize her, but I promise you that I will never forget her. So it stood as a reminder to me, and I tell that story as a reminder to you that you never know. So as you're helping someone, as you're speaking with someone, as you're coaching with someone or teaching a class, never underestimate the power that you have in something that you may say, something that you may not say, an act of kindness, an act of your time, whatever that is. You have the power to plant amazing, powerful global seeds in the hearts, souls, and minds of every single person around you every single day. As you build your businesses, I want you to think about how you can step into your greatness, how you can step in with your voice and your messaging in a powerful way and show up in the world in only a way that you can. I love helping entrepreneurs just like you get from wherever you are to where you want to be. Thank you so much.